It's not fun being a single mom with no help and having to run a business or having to go to work and do all these things. It's also not fun being a woman who's 6-7 months pregnant and then you still have to clock in, and right after you have your baby, a few weeks after, you have to go back to work. These are not things that benefit women. So who is it benefiting? Who are these ideologies benefiting? It doesn't make life easier on women to take fathers out the home. It doesn't benefit women to make marriage and stability an abnormality. Who is it benefiting? It is not benefiting the women that they're trying to make us seem like it is. I need us to start having these conversations. Who is it benefiting? Because it's not the women. Hey y'all, hey, it is your girl Tiana, and welcome back to my channel if you are not new, and welcome if you are. You have no idea who I am. You have no idea who this girl is on your screen. To keep a long story short, I like to yap. And I like to yap about things that I feel like we're not yapping enough about, and therefore I'll do the honors and I'll do the yapping, and that's pretty much the gist. So picture me this, right? You're scrolling through Instagram or TikTok, whichever one's your favorite, and it's everywhere. Female rappers, Black Hollywood icons, pop culture celebrities thriving in their careers, of course, loved by millions of their fans, and yet so many share one commonality: their baby mamas. Now let's be very clear. Single motherhood is not exclusive to just Black women, nor is it a new thing or a new phenomenon, but there's something deeper at play here. This isn't just about women raising kids on their own. We're seeing the glorification of two different dynamics. On one hand, you have the glorification of being a baby mama, and on the other hand, you have couples playing house, doing all the wife and husband things, but just no officiality to it. So why is it that in 2024, these narratives not just normalized, but actually glorified and celebrated? Is this actually about independence and empowerment? Or have we subtly been a little conditioned to accept and even glamorize broken family structures? Today we're gonna be peeling back the layers to that conversation, explaining how female rap, Black Hollywood, and pop culture reshaped the narratives of single motherhood and almost marriages. So before diving into how the entertainment industry glorifies single motherhood, we need to take a step back and examine the broader historical context here. For many Black families, single motherhood is not a new concept. And as I said before, it's not just reserved for Black people in general, but in the context of this video, we're talking about Black people, so therefore it's going to be in the context of Black people. So let's just get it out of the way now. It's talking about Black people. So yeah, for many Black families, single motherhood is not a new concept. And when I say Black families, that's not necessarily limited to America. That's across the diaspora. But for the context of this video, I'm mostly referring to Black people in America. But some parts of the things that I'm saying can be applied to Black people in different cultures across the world. Being that we know that single motherhood is not new, to Black families, but its dramatic rise since a few decades ago is directly tied to systemic changes in government intervention. In 1960, only 22% of Black children were raised in single-parent households. By 2019, that number jumped from 22 to 64%. So what happened during that time? What happened between 1960 and 2019 that caused this dramatic change? A key turning point in this shift was the introduction and expansion of welfare programs. When welfare programs were first introduced, the intent seemed very noble. It seemed very great at the time. It was ultimately intended to provide financial safety nets for families in poverty, ensuring that children wouldn't go hungry and families could meet basic needs. However, over time, unintended consequences emerged.
In a short period, healthy Black people started relying on government assistance to achieve some level of normalcy. But within the city slums, that normalcy was impossible to get. Black children barely knew their fathers, and most were raised by unemployed and unmarried mothers stuck in a cycle of poverty and modest paychecks. This marked a significant shift in Black American history. The consequences were severe for the next generation.
Specifically, policies within welfare programs began incentivizing single motherhood. And here's how that happened. Many of these different programs were designed to disqualify households if two parents were present, or if the father earned a certain income. This created a bizarre dynamic where, in order to qualify for much, fathers either had to leave their homes or minimize their involvement on paper. So essentially, the government stepped in to play that provider role.
Institute of Family Studies sheds light on this fact, stating, it was estimated that in 1975, a household head would have to earn $20,000 a year to have more resources than what could be obtained from Great Society programs. In today's dollars, that's over $90,000 per year in earnings. That may be a reason why, in 1964, only 7% of American children were born out of wedlock, compared to 40% today. One can see through this tactic that the government purposefully incentivized these women to have more children out of wedlock, as the type of money being offered, even in more modern times, is hard to come by as a salary for anyone, much less a Black man or a woman. In the early to mid-1990s, Black households saw a peak when it came to fatherless homes, as nearly 70% of Black families saw this as their reality.
Filling the gap a father would otherwise fill in the household. The government was in charge of how much you ate. The government was in charge of where you go to school. The government was in charge of where you live. The government was now in charge of how much income you can make. The government was the daddy.
Alabama is one state that stands out, as the state independently submitted a plan in 1964 about a substitute parent rule that would effectively harm Black families specifically. Aspects of the proposal stated that a child would have a substitute father, hereby disqualifying their home from receiving government assistance if a substitute father lives in the home with the child's mother for the purpose of cohabitation, if he frequently visits to cohabitate with the mother, or if he does not frequent the home but cohabitates with the child's natural or adoptive mother elsewhere. These facts are telling, as they show a direct attack on the Black man by giving an ultimatum of them being in the home, even for a short period of time, versus receiving help. With the Black marriage rate lowering from the 1960s on, cohabitating was common throughout the country.
By the time the 1996 welfare reform, the goal had shifted from moving people off welfare and into the workplace. While that sounds good, it sounds logical, why wouldn't the government see a plan that isn't working? Why wouldn't they want to fix it? Why wouldn't they help the people? Why wouldn't they? It sounds so good. It sounds great. It always sounds great. But in actuality, what it did was it added strict work requirements and limited benefits for families with two parents present, making it even harder for intact families to qualify for those welfare assistance programs. And as we see the effects of that today, this policy disproportionately affected Black families, where systemic racism at the time already limited job opportunities and wealth accumulation.
There were a lot of misconceptions and stereotypes about those who lived in poverty. So, the reform bill that was eventually passed replaced the AFDC with TANF, Temporary Assistance to Needy Families. The new bill imposed stricter work requirements, expecting single mothers to find work within 2 years of receiving benefits. There was also a 5-year limit on receiving benefits. To promote traditional family values, teenage mothers didn't receive benefits. But that was not all. If a father were to fall behind on child support payments, they could face threats of imprisonment. The bill restricted the use of federally funded TANF for certain groups of immigrants. There were also eligibility limitations on Medicaid, food stamps, and supplementary Social Security income, SSI. These measures were just too harsh. They made it difficult for families in need to get proper financial support. Instead of addressing the root of poverty and creating new employment opportunities, it just punished those who already struggled financially.
What's even worse than everything is, even still today, we see the welfare programs being taken advantage of. Some men felt compelled to stay out of their children's lives entirely because they knew their very presence could reduce the financial support that their families desperately needed from the government.
Does it make you feel bad that you can't support your kids?
Yes.
How do they make it? Where do they get the money?
Well, the majority of them, the mothers on welfare, and welfare gives them the stipend for the month. So what I'm not doing, the government does.
What would happen if the government didn't?
This would be a big disaster, I guess.
before we moved into Pruitt-Igoe, the welfare department came to our home. They talked with my mother about moving into the housing project, but the stipulation was that my father could not be with us. They would put us into the housing project only if he left the state. My mother and father discussed it, and they decided that it was best for the 12 children for the father to leave the home. And that's how we got into the projects.
The welfare department had a rule that no able-bodied man could be in the house if a woman received aid for dependent children. If a man lost his job, he's looking for work, he still had to leave the home. And there was even a night staff of men who worked for the welfare department whose job was to go to the homes of the welfare recipients, and they searched to find if there was a man in the home. Sometimes men came back at night to be with their families. Some were found in the closet hiding.
What's the mechanism? Why does the welfare state dissolve the family structure?
For one thing, it makes it unnecessary for fathers to support their offspring. And in fact, it makes it counterproductive in many cases. A very poor man who might be able to support his family realizes his family will be better off without him. But on the other hand, someone who's strictly irresponsible, either the man or the woman or both, now pays no price for being irresponsible. The taxpayers pay the price.
Every single case that you hear, it's not just about a man being a deadbeat and not being there for his kids. Some men genuinely feel like their children and families are better off without them because they'll receive more benefits from the government and financially than the man could provide for his family. It's actually kind of sad. There was a systemic incentive that discouraged family unity. So in essence, the government became the husband and the father in these households. At the same time, some women began to see the program as a means of survival. The more children they had, the more assistance they could qualify for. Now, while this wasn't the intention of welfare, the loopholes allowed the exploitation of the program.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm 30 years old, I have 4 kids, and I've been on welfare for 12 years.
Do you live in government housing?
Yes, since I was 18, but they put me out because I didn't report my boyfriend living there with me.
Are you employed?
No.
How do you feel about that?
I'm comfortable with it, and I feel like I don't need to look for one because I get a check from the government every month.
How much do you collect in benefits?
I get $780 in food stamps, $500 in TANF, and I get Medicaid and WIC.
And this isn't to shun those women. I mean, let's be honest, if you're navigating a world with limited opportunities, assistance can feel like the only lifeline, regardless of how it's going to shape the family dynamic. And of course, the media didn't help either. Instead of critiquing the policies for the structural harm of these welfare programs, they actually amplified narratives of strong single mothers as symbols of resilience. And yes, we know these women are resilient. We know that. But the celebration of this role, it glosses over the systemic harm that it does to those very women. The narrative shifted from this is survival to this is empowerment, masking the deeper issue. The result, the normalization and the glorification of single motherhood, not just as a reality, but a badge of honor. And this over time has trickled into what we are seeing today in 2024. Whether it's through music, movies, social media, where single motherhood and unstable family structures are not only accepted, but it's idealized as part of the culture.
I left my kids to be here. I'm super proud of their dad. That's my baby daddy.
What is that? That's the baby mama from hell.
Sorry! And it ain't gonna be no Maggie.
no.
The glorification of single motherhood in modern pop culture. Fast forward to today, and the narrative has evolved. It's no longer just about single motherhood being normalized. We're kind of seeing it be glamorized. And we're also seeing the non-traditional family thing kind of be, glorified as well. And today, if a woman isn't completely raising her family on her own, she's oftentimes in a relationship where she and her partner are playing the roles of a married couple, a husband and a wife, doing all the family things. You're raising these kids together, you're living together, you're doing all these big things together without the actual commitment of the marriage part. And this playing house dynamic, it's portrayed as modern and progressive and liberating and empowering and all these things.
I'm not like discounting anything, and I'm not saying that we aren't gonna get married, but what I'm saying is that it's just, I would like to do a lot. I would like to, and I don't like putting our personal business out there like that either, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Look, hey, trouble, hey, good money shit, what the fuck is my point? I got trust in
Suspect mad I want to be with his daddy. Nah. A suspect really crying. It was a joke. Like, tighten up, bro.
For me, it raises more important questions. Why has commitment taken a back seat in family building narratives? And why are we so quick to celebrate relationships that lack long-term stability? Have we been accustomed to toxic? Are we the drama? Now, on the other side of the spectrum are public figures who are in these on again and off again relationships with their kids' fathers. Relationships often characterized by chaos, toxicity, and public disagreements to the point where you feel like you end a relationship with them. We know so much about these celebrities that we literally could have went centuries without knowing. We know too much about these celebrities.
Cause you will fucking talk to a nigga and a motherfucker will play in your fucking face over and over and over and over and over again. And still be like, watch what I'm about to do. Watch what I'm about to say. And it's so fucking sad that a nigga like to, this motherfucker really likes to play games with me when I'm at my most vulnerable time.
I don't believe in marriage, but
What?
I love her.
He getting married with me. Can you be quiet? Is this go along?
Okay, so
If I give him $3 billion, he gonna marry me.
I literally found out how I was pregnant the craziest way. I found out I was pregnant and getting cheated on in the same day, okay?
Ow. Who the are you texting? And why the are you still texting bitches? Who are you playing with? Stop playing with me because you're a liar.
Do you not like being married?
Well,
I'm almost scared, like, you don't want to do life with me.
it's so dramatic.
These celebrity situationships are highly visible, and they're often spun as entertainment or even proof of resilience and strength on the woman's end. And what this does is this messaging subtly normalizes dysfunction, shifting the focus away from the emotional and financial toll it takes on families, especially children, and turning it into something aspirational. However, what the media rarely acknowledges, if they ever do, is the reality behind these narratives. Women like Rihanna, Keke Palmer, Halle Bailey, Summer Walker, who take those non-traditional routes into motherhood, whether intentionally or not, they have access to resources that the average single mother or a woman in the everyday world partaking in these situationships simply does not. They can afford the nannies, they can afford the help, they can afford private tutors, they can afford top-tier education, they can afford the latest new clothes to get their kids, they can take their kids on all type of glamorous trips and do all these different things. And they have resources to ensure that their children live lives most of their fans can only dream of. And this is the even bigger problem. When celebrities glorify these narratives like single motherhood or situationships without addressing the immense privilege that they have in the matter, it does send a dangerous and unrealistic message to the everyday woman, and even worse, the young women looking up to them thinking, oh, this must be normal. 10 of my favorite celebrities and movie stars and female rappers and artists, oh, they're in dysfunctional relationships, they're single parents, oh, okay. Again, when I make these videos talking about certain things, it's rarely talking about women who are like my age and older, 24, 25, 26 and up, because we're grown, you know, your actions are your own. When I make certain videos, it's mostly for the younger girls who are just kind of being bombarded with all the different type of mess, with all these toxic images and representations of things that really aren't normal. They're not normal to the everyday woman. And I talk about various things on my channel if you're new here like this, but somebody's getting a message. And it ain't the ones that are 25, 26 and up. When there's no type of acknowledgement addressing the privileges that they have in these very unorthodox situations, like I said, it does send a dangerous and unrealistic message to the everyday woman who doesn't or might never have access to the same luxuries. And I also think what's very interesting is just how the media kind of treats women who embrace traditional family structures versus those who don't. For example, while Rihanna and Keke Palmer, either on the Keke's end, Keke's situation is a bit unique because I don't think she intended to be in the situation that she's in. Yeah, I don't know these people. I can only go off what I'm seeing on the internet. But in Keke's situation, I can understand she wasn't necessarily intended to be in the single motherhood role, which I don't even know if she's single, but last time I left off, she was single. I don't know what she and that man got going on. I don't know. But you have Keke Palmer, who is empowered by the millions of fans and mostly women back behind her who grew up on Keke. She's kind of seen as this empowerment figure, right? And then on the other hand, you have Rihanna, who's been with her longtime boyfriend as well as baby's father, A$AP Rocky, for years. I don't know how many years they've been together, but they've been together a minute. So you have these two women, Keke Palmer and Rihanna, and they're celebrated. When you think of these women, you mostly don't think of anything negative. And then on the other hand, and this probably isn't the best example because I said I was talking about black women, but it's just, the reason I'm using this next example that I'm gonna be using is because it's just more dramatic, and I think it just helps the argument that I'm trying to make, like the complete difference in dynamics and how the media kind of handles the two different types of women. So you have the Keke Palmers and you have the Rihanna, and then you have someone like Ballerina Farm, which if you don't know, bruh, if you're not on that side of the internet, Miss Ballerina Farm.
Gentlemen, I am Mrs. American 2023. I am a mother of 7 children, almost 8. I'm also a business owner, a homesteader, wannabe homesteader. I was once a professional ballerina.
You might have heard of her. She goes by the handle Ballerina Farm.
Ballerina Farm had 1 million followers in 2022 and has gained 7.5 million followers since then.
We ordered Ballerina Farm.
Ballerina Farm. Ballerina Farm.
She's in her late 20s. She has like 8 kids. She lives on this huge farm. She runs a business with her husband. They've been married for years. I think he has money. So she didn't marry into like this broken situation. She married into money. She made a business for herself, but she's very traditional. Her entire content is waking up and making bread for the babies. She makes bread, she cooks, and that's the plot. That is her whole shtick.
What my day looked like today. I wake up, nurse Flora Joe, then we get the kids fed and ready for school, which is in a little schoolhouse we have here on the farm. We have a school teacher come in, and it's a 1-room schoolroom with the older kids. We love our teacher. It works really well. We do our morning chores, try to get some protein in. I decided to make some soup, and we just documented gathering food, making the food. And after the kids go to bed is when I typically edit. After that, we packed everything up for our kids' practices. So Daniel took the girls, I took the boys. We got everyone loaded up and in the truck. As soon as we made it there, of course, the girls were starving. We nursed, we ate Cheerios, we drank milk.
So here you have this lady, she has a large family. She's in her late 20s, has a family-centered lifestyle. She gets harsh criticism from the media. Again, I don't know if y'all are on this side of the internet, but Miss Ballerina Farm Girl, the girls don't always take it too easy on her.
Why is there so much controversy surrounding this TikTok mom? Ballerina Farm is led by Hannah Nealman and has almost 7 million TikTok followers who love watching her organic cooking videos and idyllic farm lifestyle in rural Utah, often featuring her husband and 8 children. Hannah competes in beauty pageants, with the most recent one being just 10 weeks after she gave birth. However, controversy erupted when it was discovered that Hannah's husband has a net worth of $400 million since his father founded 5 commercial airlines. Many viewers felt betrayed by this, as farmers usually have to work from pasture for survival, whereas Ballerina Farm is doing so with immense financial backing. Some believe that Hannah presents an unrealistic tradwife image, which only looks this glamorous when you're rich. But the controversy intensified when people found out that they're Mormons. Mormonism is a family-centered religion that believes gender is eternal and that men and women have unique roles and duties ordained by God. That includes mothers being mainly responsible for raising children. And didn't Hannah echo this in that viral clip?
When have you felt the most empowered?
As I bring these sacred souls to the earth, after I hold that newborn baby in my arms.
However, Hannah never talks about Mormonism, so doesn't that mean she isn't actively sharing it?
Ballerina Farm Girl and other influencers like her, that kind of trad wife content type of, you know. Women and influencers like her, they are not celebrated. They're actually villainized and mocked for living life that would be considered old-fashioned and not very feminist, you know. And the media's bias is very, very clear. They don't do a very good job at trying to seem neutral. Women who embrace non-traditional family structures are glorified as progressive and independent, while women who prioritize traditional values and family roles are painted as outdated and even oppressive. Now, this discrepancy highlights a troubling, weird double standard. And it makes me ask the question again, why is one lifestyle celebrated while the other is scrutinized? And what message does that send about the value of stability, commitment, and intentional family building? And who are they trying to send the message to? Ballerina Farm Girl is interesting because she's accumulated millions of followers across her social media platforms. And it just makes me, this whole trad wife versus feminism thing is very interesting to me, because I think more women, including myself, and just getting older and opening myself up to more things and kind of stepping away from certain things. Those traditional values that the media keeps trying to hammer into us are oppressive and actually against women, and women don't like this, and why would you want this? Actually, no, that's exactly what I want. I don't live to work. I don't live to climb the corporate ladder. That was never meant to be my reality. And you are not going to tell me that that's a bad thing. I do want all the traditional things, and I can, if I want to have a business on the side, I can do all those things. And I think as women, we need to be very intentional with the type of media and the celebrities that we're giving our energy to. Although Rihanna and Keke Palmer and Summer Walker and Halle Bailey deserve all their accolades, and I admire all those women for their different reasons, we need to also talk about the women that are villainized for literally just being traditional. Ballerina Farm Girl don't do nothing for nobody. That girl, like I said, she makes bread and records, and that is it. But she's villainized. That's weird to me. Isn't it weird to you? I don't know, but I think her millions of followers across social media is kind of showing like, yeah, there's something in this that a lot of women are gravitating towards, who are making family-centered content. Something about their content is gravitating a lot of women, and I think it's because for such a long time as women, we've stepped away from our biological tendencies, and, you know, we focus on all the things that society tells us to focus on. Get the 3 degrees, climb the corporate ladder, buy 7 houses, make sure you buy 4 cars, make sure you do all these things, and it's like, do this, do this, do this, and then you consider having a family. Don't even consider being a mom or a wife until you've accumulated all these different accolades, and then you can consider having a husband. But even when you do have a husband, make sure you don't let him run you. You don't let him rule you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a lot. And I think over time, a lot of women are just like, actually, this isn't fun. I don't want to climb the corporate ladder. This isn't fun.
I don't believe in feminism. I think that if men are willing to do more and do more, then they should make more. That's the first argument. Everybody's like, men shouldn't make more money than women. I don't want to be a carpenter. Get up for me. I want your seat. Like, there's no reason we should get rid of those pieces of chivalry all for feminism. I don't know. like you said earlier, we're taking it too far. We're taking it too far. I think that there are certain positions in society that are comfortable for a woman. And when you start pushing the men out of the other positions, then the women have to step into the ones that are uncomfortable for women. And I'm not willing to do that.
I would love to be a stay-at-home mom. I would love to be a homemaker and a wife. I would love to be able to live on a homestead and go milk my cow and take the eggs out of the chicken coop and have one baby in the belly and on my hip and another toddler coming behind me. That's like my dream, but I can't fucking do that because the way the economy is set up is I'm forced to work. I'm forced to get an education, a higher education, a college degree in order to make enough money that I can be financially independent and afford my own home or my own rent or my own gas or my own groceries, my own insurance. And it's extremely difficult to do that. And it's very isolating as a woman when you have to do all of that all on your own and you can't find somebody that you can outsource some of those chores and financial responsibilities like you would with a spouse. So no, being a single working woman absolutely sucks. It's the worst thing ever. I hate it. I would go back to the 1950s in a second just so I wouldn't have to deal with this shit.
You're talking about a traditional nuclear family where the woman doesn't work in a married household with kids.
And statistically, that was the case.
You're a single woman who isn't married with kids yet.
So I'm for because of the way it is. Most women were married by the age of 21 up until the 1970s.
I think it's a woman's choice. Before that, it was societally encouraged to marry young.
Yeah, and it was better for women mental health-wise long-term to be able to go into that long-term committed relationship and have the established family instead of being forced to slave away for a corporation that doesn't like you, doesn't care about you, makes you sit under fluorescent lights for 8, 9, 10 hours a day. You get a lunch break, you get health insurance, but do you have somebody who loves you staring at you every day like your child? No, it's horrible.
I don't need a group of people telling me that it's wrong for me to want to actually stay at home and look after my children.
It's a space on the internet where all these young women are coming together to say, okay, hold up, we have some issues here. And we want to discuss them without being called stupid, without being called ignorant, without being called uneducated.
There's nothing in, anyways, that's a whole other thing, girl. I have a whole other thing based on that. But back to Ballerina Farm Girl, guys. Back to Ballerina. Though this video is centered around Black women, and obviously Ballerina Farm Girl is not that, I just thought it would be really interesting for you guys to see an influencer who has millions of followers, like I said, across all social media platforms, who's married, making a lot of money, has kids, they're living out the way, makes her food organically, pretty much Nara on crack. Despite all those things, because it's not very feminist of her approach to her life, she's kind of a villain. There's articles about her that try to paint her life as something that she doesn't enjoy and how she's being oppressed. It's like this whole thing. The Ballerina Farm Girl rabbit hole is kind of crazy, but when you see how the media talks about her, it's kind of just like, what did she do again? Y'all mad because she making bread? You mad because she has the kids? You mad because she's married? Y'all mad because she's, what is it? Why are we mad again?
A couple of weeks ago, we had a reporter come into our home to learn more about our family and business. We thought the interview went really well, very similar to the dozens of interviews we had done in recent memory. We were taken back, however, when we saw the printed article, which shocked us and shocked the world by being an attack on our family and my marriage, portraying me as oppressed, with my husband being the culprit. This couldn't be further from the truth. Nothing we said in the interview implied this conclusion, which leads me to believe the angle taken was predetermined.
You know, you have creators who are more on the feminist side, who critique Ballerina Farm Girl. Just listen.
I don't usually feel bad for rich people, but this Ballerina Farms article was so crazy. The story starts on a weird note because even Hannah Nealman, who is behind Ballerina Farms, telling the story of how she met her husband was already deranged. She said that they met and she didn't really want to go on a date with him. And then 6 months later, she was going to be on a flight and she told him, like, yeah, I'm flying to New York on this day, whatever. And he goes, that's so crazy. We're on the same flight. And she was like, oh my God, that's wild. And they were sitting right next to each other. Then it turns out his dad owns the airline and he had pulled strings to make sure he was on her flight and sitting directly next to her. They tell this like it's a meet cute. Already a little bit weird.
I found this creator's take on that whole situation so interesting because the way she's talking, you would seem like it was like a dire situation that, you know, somehow Hannah was in trouble because this man, he figured out her flight and he was doing all this. Like she makes it sound really bad. But I actually read the article, and what actually happened and what Hannah actually described is like her now husband at the time, he expressed that he was interested in dating her, and Hannah was not. She was not stunting him. Hannah was not interested in getting married and settled down. And that was about the situation for their first 6 months of meeting each other. So he had to put on, you know what I'm saying? He had to come a little harder. So what he did was, mind you, this man has money and his dad is actually one of the owners of JetBlue. So the money is long. Okay, so he's interested in this woman. She's not stunting him. So what he decides to do, he's just like, okay, I'm gonna use my resources and my money. So she tells him about this upcoming trip that she had, and what he did was he pulled some strings and he made sure he was on that flight sitting right next to the woman that he wants. That's literally what happened. He pulled some strings and he made sure he was on the seat next to Hannah, and that's literally it. And what that is a man who has money pursuing a woman that he wants and using his money as a resource. But the way that the creator was describing it, you would think like Hannah is in danger. Mind you, y'all are the same people that romanticize movies like Twilight, where Edward was literally stalking, what's her name? Bella. Like, your favorite rom-coms are worse than a man pursuing a woman and then using his money to get on the same flight as her. Y'all have romanticized actual crazy scenarios. So let's reel it in. Okay.
Had 1 million followers in 2022 and has gained 7.5 million followers since then. Which means that when I said, kind of offhandedly, that I thought that this was connected to Roe v. Wade, I was actually completely correct. You cannot tell me that it is accidental that in the 2 years where we lost more reproductive rights than in decades previously, all of these trad wives have been gaining insane traction online. Also, I'm sorry about the bedhead. I'm just really excited and I can't wait. Like, does that not blow your mind? Whether you think that culture and media are the same thing, or culture drives media, or media drives culture, or media drives politics, or politics drives media, you have to acknowledge that they're in this constant dance with one another. And we are watching these accounts gain millions of followers at a time when women don't have access to control over their own bodies. Why do we think we're following this woman who has happily chosen to procreate as much as humanly possible, who is in her early 30s and has 8, 9, I can't even keep track, that many children already, and has them happily and has the support to enjoyable? I think it's because even the most progressive of us are so afraid of what's happening right now that we are subconsciously desperate to see a sign that it's possible to live in this world and still find joy. Most of the women my age that I know are terrified of having children because they don't want to deal with the immense financial burden. We are terrified to have miscarriages. We are terrified to have to pay for childcare. And we are also at a time period where statistically men are going to start getting promoted over us at much higher pace than previously. It is not accidental that all of this is happening and that Ballerina Farm is gaining so many followers. When you ask me why do I care, this is why. This is why I care. This is why it matters. It's all connected and it's all pointing towards some pretty clear signs that the women are not okay.
Follow that logic, guys. That makes sense to you. It's like, it's all coming together. So the only reason she has 10 million followers, you guys, is because Roe v. Wade was reversed. And that doesn't mean that abortion rights went away. It means that they were never constitutional and it wasn't right for 9 men to decide to try to pretend that it was constitutional. It got sent back down to the states. So there's not less abortions or less abortion availability, but park that aside because we don't need to understand basic civics. Let's just get into her mindset. What she's saying is that if you're watching this woman bake bread and you're enjoying this content, it's because deep down you are worried and apprehensive about the future. And you're so scared that you're thinking, am I going to have to live like this? So you're following her because it's really just a deep-seated fear that you have that now you're going to have to enjoy and like children and family. Modern feminism. Absolutely love that.
And because Ballerina Farm Girl is so oppressed, none other than Anne Hathaway is actually going to be starring in a film essentially inspired by Ballerina Farm Girls' life. It's very interesting, and hopefully I'm able to put all the things in the video so you guys can kind of follow along. But I've been down that rabbit hole because I'm just like, what did this girl do to y'all? This film, as it's been reported, will be a cautionary tale aimed at young girls, warning them about the dangers of pursuing a life that values traditional marriage, having a lot of kids, and living outside of the flashy, modern, LA-centered dream. This isn't just gonna be a movie about a person. It's an attack on an entire ideology. Why? Because it challenges the narrative that the modern woman must have it all in terms of career and independence, and that any form of traditional values or private life is regressive. Anne Hathaway, she is now about to warn women that there's something inherently wrong choosing a lifestyle centered around family over fame. Don't do that. You should not want that. That is not the right want to want. Meanwhile, Rihanna's out of wedlock is met with admiration, as though it's the epitome of female empowerment. And again, of course, this is not a bash to Rihanna. I love Rihanna down. She's built a $1 billion empire. She has her kids, she has her boyfriend. But then when you have someone like Ballerina Farm Girl, who's literally just an influencer documenting her life, who does make a lot of money doing her business, the only difference between her and Rihanna, other than their race, is the fact that Rihanna has a more independent type of girl boss, and Ballerina Farm Girl has the same girl boss mindset, but let me take care of my kids and my husband first. They're both influencers, not even on the same scale. But it's like, why does the media feel the need to attack a woman like Ballerina Farm? Like, the girl's making bread, you know? The media seems to promote certain forms of motherhood and family dynamics while demonizing others. There's a double standard, and it's very hard to ignore. The unspoken struggles of celebrities versus the reality of the average single mother. One of the most insidious parts of the media's portrayal of single motherhood is the unspoken truth. Keke Palmer, Halle Bailey, Jada Chivez, Sky Jackson, they are not the same as the average everyday woman. In case we didn't know, they are not the same. These celebrities, like I said earlier, have millions of dollars at their disposal. They have entire teams of people helping with everything from childcare to household management. They can afford the luxury of raising their children with all the comfort that most single mothers will never know. When Rihanna posts about motherhood, she's not talking about struggling to make ends meet and dealing with the emotional and financial strains of an unorthodox family structure and a situationship. We're seeing the glamour, the aesthetics, and the adorable side of everything with these celebrities. An image of wealth, luxury, and privilege. And the thing is, these women are influencing the next generation. The problem comes in when these experiences that we're seeing are being told to us by the media that this is normal. This should be the standard. They serve as models of success for the very audience that cannot replicate their circumstances. When single mothers in the community watch these women, these celebrities, they don't see the tens of millions of dollars sitting in the bank and the other 10 that they have at their disposal. They're not showing you that. Instead, they just see the idea of raising kids alone or in non-traditional family structures and being successful at it. The narrative misses the real struggle of everyday women who are doing the same thing, but without the resources to make it easy or make it look good or make it glamorous or make it cute.
So like, I'm literally just in my kitchen, and I really want to know how people manage to just stay strong every day for their kids. Like, I am struggling. I am mentally struggling. Just being a single mom and having to do everything on my own. Like, it's draining. It's so emotionally draining, and I try to find the strength every day, but I just don't have it anymore in me. So yeah, let me know how you guys manage to keep it together every day, because I have no support. No support. Everybody that told me, oh, they're gonna be there for me and my kid, this and that, when it's the time for y'all to show up, y'all leave. And that's what got me fucked up, because Why? Like,
you want to know what the worst part about being a single mom is you get robbed of a certain motherhood experience. It just doesn't exist for you when you're a single mom. You don't get to operate in a certain way because you're carrying a different type of load. And that, I think, is the most frustrating / heartbreaking thing, because it's just like, damn, if I had a different level of support, the way that I could run, the way that I could carry it. And props for how you carry the load that you have, but it's just like you sit there and you think like, oh, how great could I have been had I had the certain level of support that I deserved during pregnancy, during raising your children, whatever that looks like. It's just like, I don't know, sometimes I have that moment of reflection where I'm like, wow, not only did you like not show up, you stole something from me.
The bigger picture, the long-term impact on the Black community. This isn't just about celebrities and media portrayals. It's about the long-term impact of single motherhood and the glorification of broken homes in the Black community. Studies have shown that children raised in single-parent households, particularly in lower-income areas, are more likely to face challenges such as lower educational attainment, increased likeliness of teenage pregnancy, and higher poverty rates. The systemic issues that contribute to single motherhood in Black communities are not just about individual choices. They're about a deeply rooted history of economic inequality. And we can thank the undermining of the Black family unit through policies like the welfare reform of 1996. So what do we do? All right, what can we do? What do we do? First, we need to start having honest conversations about single motherhood and non-traditional family structures, how we actually feel about it, and what it's actually doing to us and the women around us who did subscribe to those non-traditional family, single motherhood lifestyle, whether they did it on purpose or whether they did not. When we have these conversations with each other and you actually talk to women, you then realize that a lot of us do subscribe to what society tells us to do as women, which is put the family stuff in the back burner until you accomplish all the other things. And then when you have these conversations with other women, are they happy? Would they have done anything different? Was there a point where they weren't fulfilled by just climbing the corporate ladder and stuff like that? Like, we need to start talking to each other and having honest conversations. We're not all happy trying to live life like Rihanna and Kiki and all of them. It doesn't actually benefit us the way that they're marketing it to us that it is. And while single mothers deserve recognition for their resilience and their ability to overcome those challenges and circumstances that come with not having consistent help or not having the means to afford help, we need to acknowledge being a single mother and playing house is not fun, it's not cute, and there's nothing easy about it or glamorous about it. We need to start being honest. And we also need to be mindful about the impact that celebrities have on shaping cultural norms. Many of these celebrities can afford to navigate non-traditional family structures because they have access to wealth, resources, and support systems that the average person does not. I've said that multiple times throughout this video. We need to remember what the realities of these women that we're watching on our screens as opposed to the average woman that we're talking to, that we actually are. When the media glorifies their lifestyles and their decisions and their ways of life without acknowledging their privileges, it does create unrealistic expectations and standards for everyday women. It's dangerous to follow suit behind influencers or celebrities who make non-traditional setups look easy and fun and aesthetically pleasing, when in reality, the majority of families in similar situations in the real world, the rest of us, are struggling to make ends meet. And here is my hot take, Tiana's hot take. For the average woman, or just for women who value more traditional roles and beliefs, marriage is not just an outdated concept. It's a foundation. And it's okay to want to be married. It is okay to do that in a traditional way. It is okay to not do all that's going on in the media. It's okay to be a little bit more traditional. Marriage benefits the man, marriage benefits the woman, and most importantly, it benefits the children, and then it benefits the children thereafter. your grandkids. The generational wealth that we continuously talk about within our community, it starts with at minimum a 2-parent household. A lot of what we're seeing within our community that we do not like is a result of dads not being present, moms doing it alone, mom's not present, dad's doing it alone, and this normalization of an unequally yoked home. We need to start acknowledging that. 2-parent households, that's step one to a lot of good things. Do not let the internet and pop culture and the media and social media and influencers and everything in between skew your perception into thinking that partnership and tradition and commitment is old news. It is not. There are benefits to marriage outside of just signing a piece of paper. Stability is not old-fashioned. Commitment is not old-fashioned. Tradition is definitely not old-fashioned. We need more of it. And the goal here isn't to shame any family or anybody, but again, to just bring up conversations that I feel like we're not really talking about in our community and we're not seeing solutions to. So just to wrap everything up, the media's portrayal of single motherhood in the Black community, particularly the glorification of certain celebrities and their lifestyles, it can be dangerous if we fail to acknowledge the broader context which we have. We're actively failing to separate reality from what we're seeing on our phones. And, you know, while we do celebrate the success of Rihanna and other women, we cannot forget the structural issues that do contribute to the challenges that many single mothers face, and the cultural narrative in general within our community around family and the things that we normalize and allow to happen and the things that we carry on through generations and the lessons that we pass down unknowingly or unknowingly to our kids. All of those things play a role in the reality that we're seeing, which is normalizing baby mama culture and toxic situationships and playing house. We need to shift the narrative and stop making single motherhood seem like this fun, nice, cutesy thing and move our policies in a way that actually favor women. It's not fun being a single mom with no help and having to run a business or having to go to work and do all these things. It's also not fun being a woman who's 6-7 months pregnant and then you still have to clock in, and right after you have your baby, a few weeks after, you have to go back to work. These are not things that benefit women. So who is it benefiting? Who are these ideologies benefiting? It doesn't make life easier on women to take fathers out the home. It doesn't benefit women to make marriage and stability an abnormality. Who is it benefiting? It is not benefiting the women that they're trying to make us seem like it is. I need us to start having these conversations. Who is it benefiting? Because it's not the women. But if you actually get off of social media and stop looking at these celebrities and you actually compare these things to women in the real world, they're not benefiting. So who is benefiting from these ideologies? So yeah, y'all, that is it for today's video. Hope it gave you some food for thought. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. If you're still here at this point, just subscribe. If you watch this full video, you love it here, and you know you do, and that is okay, just subscribe. Just subscribe, you know you love it here. Comment below your thoughts on this video. Tell me something you want to share. Tell me your thoughts on the whole trad wife, feminism, single mom, all these. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I'm very interested to hear. And make sure you guys follow me on Instagram, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
All in my phone, I got options, and I don't wanna tell you to drop it, but I don't wanna